Me and my crew of the Velvet Underworld channels would really love to hear how things are going on at your place, or you could share it to the comment sections so that we could connect with each other. Uh, we would love to build a community of people who love touching stories about mafia bosses. Now, let's enjoy today's stories, shall we?
The doctor said she would never walk again. Every night, the mafia boss sat beside his daughter's bed, surrounded by power he couldn't use, money he couldn't spend, enemies he couldn't threaten. Then one evening, from the garden below her window, music began to play, and for the first time in months, his paralyzed daughter smiled, watching a homeless woman dance barefoot in the dark, just for her. That was the moment everything began to change. The clock on the wall of Sophia's bedroom had stopped at 3:47 p.m. No one had bothered to fix it. Why would they? In this room, time didn't move anymore. Not in any way that mattered. Vincent Moretti stood at the window of his daughter's bedroom, his reflection dark against the evening sky. Outside, the city sprawled beneath him, blocks of territory he controlled, streets where his name was whispered with fear, businesses that paid tribute to keep operating. He owned the city, but he couldn't make his 9-year-old daughter walk. Behind him, Sophia sat in her wheelchair by her bed, a book open on her lap that she hadn't turned a page of in 20 minutes. Her dark hair, so much like her mother's, fell in waves over thin shoulders. Her hands, small and delicate, rested motionless on the armrests. She hadn't spoken in 3 hours. She rarely spoke anymore. Mr. Moretti. Vincent didn't turn. He knew Elena's voice, Sophia's private nurse, the fourth one in 6 months. The others had quit. Not because Sophia was difficult, but because watching a child fade away in slow motion, watching hope drain from a father's eyes night after night, was more than they could bear. The physical therapist called, Elena continued softly. She's not returning. Vincent's jaw tightened. Did she say why? She said there's nothing more she can do, that we should accept Sophia's condition, that pushing for recovery is only making it harder. Get out. Elena hesitated. Mr. Moretti? I said get out. The door closed quietly. Vincent pressed his forehead against the cool glass. Below, his security detail moved through the grounds. 12 men, armed, alert. Protecting what? A fortress that felt like a tomb? Papa? Sophia's voice was so soft he almost missed it. He turned, forcing his face into something that might resemble calm. Yes, Angel. Can I go to the window? It was the first thing she'd asked for in days. Vincent crossed the room and lifted her gently from the wheelchair. She weighed almost nothing. When had she gotten so light? He carried her to the window seat and settled her against the cushions, arranging a blanket over her legs that hadn't moved in 7 months. 7 months since the car bomb meant for him had detonated 3 vehicles back in the convoy. 7 months since his war with the Castellanos had cost him something that no amount of blood could repay. Sophia pressed her palm against the window, her breath fogging the glass. The gardens below were overgrown now. Vincent had fired the landscaping crew after one of them. He'd never found out which, had leaked information about Sophia's schedule to his enemies. Better to let it all go wild than risk her again. It's pretty, Sophia whispered, like a secret garden. Vincent looked down at the tangle of roses growing over the fountain, the ivy claiming the garden walls, the grass grown high and wild. He saw only his failure, the physical manifestation of everything falling apart. But Sophia saw beauty. She always had. Papa? She looked up at him, her dark eyes too old for 9 years. Do you think the gardens are lonely, without anyone walking in them? Vincent's throat tightened. I don't know, Angel. I think they might be. She turned back to the window. I think gardens need people, to see them, to make them feel like they matter. He wondered if she was talking about the gardens at all. The sun was setting now, casting long shadows across the overgrown landscape. Somewhere in the distance, a bird called out. The sound seemed impossibly loud in the silence of the room. "Papa, can I stay here? At the window?" "Of course." He started to move away. "Will you stay too?" Vincent froze. When had he last spent an evening just being here? Not in meetings with doctors, not on calls with his underbosses, not planning retribution against enemies. Just here, with his daughter, in the quiet. "Yes," he said, settling into the chair beside the window seat. "I'll stay." They sat in silence as darkness fell over the estate. Neither of them knew that 200 yards away, in the abandoned gardener's cottage hidden behind the overgrown hedge maze, someone else was watching the sunset. Someone who had been living in that cottage for 3 weeks. Someone who had nowhere else to go. Her name was Naomi Hart, and she hadn't danced in 2 years. Not real dancing. Not the kind that used to fill her whole body with light, that made audiences weep, that made her feel like she could fly. That woman was gone. The woman who existed now moved carefully through the abandoned cottage, stepping over holes in the floor, avoiding the window where moonlight might silhouette her. She'd learned to be invisible. In homeless shelters, on subway platforms, in the doorways where she'd slept before finding this place. You survived by being invisible. The cottage was barely standing. The roof leaked, in 2 places. The door didn't lock, but it had walls, and it was hidden deep enough in the overgrown estate that no one had found her yet. She'd stumbled onto the property by accident 3 weeks ago, running from a man who'd followed her from the soup kitchen. She'd slipped through a broken section of the estate's rear wall, crashed through brambles and ivy, and found herself in what looked like an abandoned fairy tale. Wild gardens, a crumbling fountain, and this cottage, forgotten at the edge of it all. That first night, she'd hidden in the corner, certain security would find her. But no one came. The estate seemed empty, abandoned almost, except for the lights in the main house, and occasionally the shadow of a man standing at one particular window on the 2nd floor. Always the same window, always the same silhouette, always alone. Naomi arranged her few possessions on the cottage floor, a tattered blanket donated from a shelter, a plastic bag with a change of clothes, a bottle of water she'd filled from a gas station bathroom, and one other thing, wrapped carefully in an old t-shirt to protect it. Her phone. The screen was cracked, the battery barely held a charge, but it was the last piece of her old life she'd kept, because on it was her music. Hundreds of songs, every piece she'd ever danced to, every performance, every rehearsal recording. She couldn't dance anymore. Not professionally, not for audiences, but sometimes, late at night, when she was sure no one could see, she would turn on the music quietly and just move. Not for anyone, not for anything, just to remember what it felt like to be human. Tonight, as full darkness settled over the estate, Naomi pulled the phone from its wrapping. The battery icon showed 8%. She'd have to find somewhere to charge it soon, but tonight, she needed this. She scrolled through her library and selected a piece, Debussy's Clair de Lune. Soft, melancholy, safe. She pressed play, turning the volume low. And for the first time in 3 weeks, in this abandoned cottage on a stranger's property, Naomi Hart began to dance. She started small, just her hands, moving through the moonlight that streamed through the broken window. Then her arms, following the music's gentle waves. Her feet, barefoot on the dirty wooden floor, remembering patterns her body had known since she was 6 years old. She wasn't the dancer she'd been. Her body was thinner now, weaker. Her movements weren't as precise, but the music still knew her. And for 3 minutes and 32 seconds, she wasn't homeless. She wasn't hungry. She wasn't afraid. She was just a dancer, moving through moonlight, in a secret garden that time had forgotten. She didn't see the small face that had appeared in the mansion's second-floor window. She didn't see the girl in the wheelchair, pressing both hands against the glass, eyes wide. She didn't see Vincent Moretti, who had been about to leave his daughter's room, freeze at Sophia's gasp. She had no idea that for the first time in 7 months, a 9-year-old girl who had forgotten how to smile was smiling. "Papa," Sophia breathed. "Papa, look, she's dancing." Vincent moved to the window, following his daughter's gaze. At first, he saw nothing but shadows in the overgrown garden. Then movement. A figure, small and dark, moving through a patch of moonlight near the old cottage. An intruder. On his property. Near his daughter. His hand moved instinctively toward his phone, ready to call security, ready to have whoever this was removed, interrogated, disappeared if necessary. "She's so beautiful," Sophia whispered. Vincent looked down at his daughter. She was leaning forward as far as she could, both hands pressed to the window, and her face, God, her face. She was smiling. Not the small, polite smile she gave doctors. Not the sad smile she gave him when he asked how she was feeling. This was real. This was wonder. This was the face of a child who had just seen magic. Vincent looked back at the figure in the garden. The music had stopped. The dancer had disappeared back into shadow, but Sophia stayed at the window, hands against the glass, smiling at the place where the woman had been. "Can I stay here tonight, Papa?" she asked. At the window? Vincent's phone was still in his hand. One call and the intruder would be removed, the property secured, the threat eliminated. He looked at his daughter's face. "Yes," he heard himself say. "You can stay." He helped her into a more comfortable position, piled pillows around her, kept the blanket over her legs. She never took her eyes off the garden. "Do you think she'll come back?" Sophia asked. "I don't know, Angel." "I hope she does." Sophia's voice was drowsy now. "I want to see her dance again." Vincent sat beside her as she drifted off to sleep, still sitting up, still facing the window, a small smile still on her lips. It was the most peaceful he'd seen her in 7 months. He looked down at his phone, at the security team's number. Then he turned the phone off and slipped it into his pocket. Tomorrow, he told himself, tomorrow he would deal with the intruder. Tonight, he would let his daughter sleep with a smile on her face, even if he didn't understand why. Vincent didn't sleep. He sat in Sophia's room until dawn, watching his daughter's face in the moonlight, then the gray pre-dawn, then the soft gold of sunrise. She slept more peacefully than she had in months. No nightmares, no crying out, no waking in panic from phantom pain in legs that couldn't feel. She slept like a child should sleep. When Elena arrived at 6 a.m. to begin the morning routine, she found Vincent still in the chair beside the window seat, Sophia still sleeping in her nest of pillows. "Mr. Moretti," Elena whispered, concerned, have you been here all night?" She wanted to stay by the window. Elena looked at Sophia, then at Vincent, then at the window. "Is everything all right?" "No," Vincent thought. "Nothing is all right. My daughter is paralyzed. My wife is dead. My empire is built on violence I can't escape. And last night, a stranger trespassed on my property and somehow gave my daughter something I haven't been able to give her in 7 months. Everything's fine," he said. "Let her sleep a bit longer." He left Elena looking confused and made his way downstairs to his office. His head of security, Marcus, was already waiting, a mountain of a man who had served the Moretti family for 20 years. "Boss, we have the weekly perimeter report." "Has there been any breach in the estate security?" Vincent interrupted. Marcus frowned. "No, sir. Nothing on the sensors, nothing from the cameras." "Check the rear section, near the old cottage." "The cottage is beyond the active security grid," Marcus said. We shut down monitoring in that area when you dismissed the ground staff. Too overgrown to maintain sight lines. Why? Is there a concern? Vincent should tell him. Should order a sweep. Should find out who was living in his abandoned cottage and remove them. But he kept seeing Sophia's face at the window. Do a visual sweep, Vincent said carefully. But don't engage anyone you find. Report back to me first. Marcus looked confused but nodded. Yes, sir. After he left, Vincent stood at his office window, looking out over the wild gardens. Somewhere in that tangle of green, a stranger was hiding. A trespasser, a potential threat, a dancer who had made his daughter smile. He pulled out his phone and called someone he hadn't spoken to in months. Dr. Chen, it's Vincent Moretti. I need you to come to the house. Today, I don't care what appointments you have to cancel. Dr. Patricia Chen had been Sophia's primary physician before she'd become one more specialist who could offer nothing but sympathy. Unlike the others, though, she'd been honest about the limitations of medicine. She arrived 2 hours later, her face showing concern. Vincent, what's wrong? Is Sophia worse? She's better. Dr. Chen blinked. Better? Last night she smiled, really smiled. She asked to stay at the window. She slept peacefully for the first time in months. That's wonderful. But Vincent, you have to understand, mood improvements don't necessarily indicate— I know, Vincent interrupted, but I need you to see her, examine her. Tell me if anything has changed. Dr. Chen's examination took over an hour. Sophia tolerated it patiently, answering questions, following instructions, her eyes constantly drifting back to the window. The gardens are so pretty today, Sophia said as Dr. Chen tested her reflexes for the dozenth time. Don't you think, Dr. Chen? They're very beautiful, sweetheart. I wonder if the dancer is still out there. Dr. Chen glanced at Vincent questioningly. Sophia saw someone in the garden last night, Vincent explained. Someone dancing. She was amazing, Sophia said. Like a fairy. Or an angel. Papa, do you think angels dance? I don't know, Angel. When the examination was complete, Dr. Chen met with Vincent in his office, her expression cautiously optimistic. Neurologically, there's no change, she said. The paralysis remains complete from L2 down. Reflexes are absent. Sensation is absent. But? Her affect is dramatically improved. She's engaged, responsive, more alert than I've seen her in months. Vincent, emotional state doesn't change paralysis, but it absolutely affects recovery potential. If she's finding reasons to engage with life again. Dr. Chen shook her head. I don't want to give you false hope, but I also won't tell you that hope is useless. After she left, Vincent returned to Sophia's room. She was back at the window, having insisted Elena move her there. Did she come back? Vincent asked. Not yet, but the sun is in the wrong place. I think she dances at night. Sophia looked up at him. Papa, can I stay at the window again tonight? Every instinct told him to say no, to have security clear the property, to remove this unknown variable from his daughter's life before it hurt her. But he looked at her face, hopeful, alive, waiting. Yes, he heard himself say, you can stay. That night, Vincent sat with Sophia as darkness fell. He'd ordered Marcus to delay the security sweep, telling himself he just wanted one more day to understand the situation, telling himself it had nothing to do with the way Sophia hadn't stopped smiling all day. At 8:47 p.m., music drifted up from the garden. Sophia gasped. She's back. Vincent moved to the window. In the moonlight, he could see her more clearly now, a woman, small and thin, moving through the overgrown garden with a grace that seemed impossible. She wore torn clothes. Her hair was wrapped in a faded scarf, but the way she moved, it was like watching water flow, like watching wind made, visible. She's so beautiful when she dances, Sophia breathed. Why do you think she dances out there, Papa? Where no one can see? Vincent watched the woman move through shadow and moonlight, dancing for an audience of one, a child she didn't know was watching. I don't know, Angel. Maybe, Sophia said softly. Maybe she's lonely too. Maybe she dances because it makes her feel less lonely. The woman danced for perhaps 5 minutes before the music stopped, and she disappeared back into shadow. But Sophia stayed at the window for another hour, just looking out at the dark garden, smiling. When Vincent finally carried her to bed, she looked up at him with eyes more alert than he'd seen in months. Papa, can I ask you something? Anything. Tomorrow night, can we open the window so I can hear the music too? Vincent thought about security protocols, about keeping Sophia safe behind bulletproof glass, about all the reasons the answer should be no. Yes, he said. We can open the window. Sophia fell asleep smiling again, and Vincent sat in the darkness, wondering who the woman in his garden was, why she was there, and why he was about to make the decision to let her stay. On the third night, Vincent opened Sophia's window. The evening air drifted in, cool, carrying the scent of wild roses and honeysuckle. Sophia breathed it in like it was the first real air she'd had in months. It smells like freedom, she whispered. The words hit Vincent like a punch to the chest. When had his daughter started feeling like a prisoner? When had this fortress he'd built become her cage? The music started at 8:47 p.m. exactly. She was precise, this mystery dancer. Vincent recognized the piece tonight. The Swan by Saint-Saëns. Delicate, mournful, beautiful, and through the open window they could hear it perfectly. Sophia's eyes closed, her head tilting toward the sound. Her hands, resting on the windowsill, began to move, just slightly, just her, fingers following the melody. Vincent's breath caught. Her fingers were moving. Angel, he said carefully. Your hands. Shh, Papa. I'm dancing with her. Sophia's fingers continued their small dance, moving in time with the music floating up from the garden. It wasn't much. Just her fingers, just small movements, but they were movements she was choosing to make, movements that came from joy, not therapy. The dance lasted 6 minutes. When it ended, Sophia opened her eyes and Vincent saw tears on her cheeks. Angel, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, Sophia said, smiling through her tears. Papa, I felt something. When the music was playing, when my fingers were moving, I felt like I was dancing too, like my whole body was dancing, even if it can't move. She looked up at him, her face radiant. Does that sound crazy? Vincent pulled her close. No, Angel, it doesn't sound crazy at all. That night, after Sophia fell asleep, Vincent went downstairs and found Marcus in the security office. The sweep of the rear grounds, Vincent said. Delay it indefinitely. Marcus frowned. Sir, if there's a concern... There's no concern. Those grounds are abandoned. Focus security on the active perimeter. But if there's someone... That's an order, Marcus. After a long moment, Marcus nodded. Yes, sir. Vincent returned to his office but didn't sit down. Instead, he stood at the window, looking out toward the dark garden, toward the hidden cottage. He was making a choice he didn't fully understand. He was allowing a stranger to stay on his property, close to his daughter, for no reason except his daughter was smiling again. Except for 7 months, he'd had all the power in the world and couldn't fix what was broken. And now someone with nothing, someone living in an abandoned cottage, someone dancing in the dark, was doing what he couldn't. His phone buzzed. A message from Marco, his underboss. Meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. The Castellano situation. Need your call. The Castellano situation. The war that had cost him his daughter's legs. The war he'd been planning to escalate, to finish, to burn every Castellano holding to the ground. Vincent looked back out at the garden. What would that violence teach Sophia? That her father was powerful? She already knew that he could destroy his enemies? She knew that too. But could he show her something else? Could he show her that maybe power wasn't always the answer? That maybe sometimes the answer was as simple and complicated as opening a window and letting music in? He didn't know, but he was about to find out. Naomi didn't know anyone was watching. She'd seen the lights on in the mansion's second floor, seen shadows move behind windows, but the estate seemed so dead, so empty. She'd convinced herself it was just security lights, automatic timers, a house too big for whoever lived there. She didn't know that every night a child sat at that window watching her dance. She didn't know that every night a mafia boss decided not to throw her out. She only knew that dancing in this wild garden, even if no one saw, even if it meant nothing, kept her from disappearing completely. Tonight, the music was Chopin. Nocturne in E-flat major. Her phone battery was down to 4%, barely enough for one more dance. Tomorrow, she'd have to find somewhere to charge it. Maybe the public library, if they'd let her stay long enough. She danced in the small clearing near the cottage, her feet bare on the grass, her body remembering what her mind tried to forget, how it felt to be strong, to be purposeful, to matter. She had mattered once. 4 years ago, she'd danced with the Harlem Contemporary Company. Small roles, mostly, but she'd been building, getting noticed, getting better. Then her mother got sick. Stage 4 cancer, the doctors said, 6 months at most. Naomi had left the company to care for her, danced at her mother's, bedside in the hospice, performing entire ballets in that small room, making her mother smile even when pain made smiling seem impossible. "You're going to be great," her mother had said 3 days before she died. "Promise me you'll dance again, baby. Promise me you won't stop. I promise, Mama." But after her mother died, nothing worked right. The grief was too big. Naomi had missed too many rehearsals. The company couldn't hold her position. And without the company, she couldn't afford her apartment. And without her apartment, the fall happened faster than she'd imagined possible. 1 month she was a dancer with a future. 6 months later, she was homeless, sleeping in shelters, dancing on subway platforms for change. That's where Derek found her. Derek, with his expensive suit and his smooth words and his promises. "I manage dancers," he'd said. "Private events, corporate entertainment, good money. Better than this." She'd been so desperate, so hungry, so tired. She should have known better. The private events were strip clubs. The corporate entertainment was worse. And when she'd refused, when she'd tried to leave, Derek had made it clear. He owned her. He'd invested in her, bought her clothes, paid for a place to stay, fronted her money. Now she owed him. And Derek collected his debts in ways that had nothing to do with money. Naomi had run, disappeared into the city's homeless population, changed her name on the street, learned to be invisible. That was 18 months ago. She hadn't danced for anyone since. Until now. Until this garden. Until she could pretend, just for a few minutes each night, that she was still that girl who danced at Juilliard, who danced for her dying mother, who danced because it was who she was. The music ended. Her phone screen went dark, battery dead. Naomi stood in the moonlight, breathing hard, her body aching pleasantly from movement. Tomorrow she'd figure out charging the phone. Tomorrow she'd figure out food. Tomorrow she'd figure out how much longer she could hide here before someone found her. Tonight, she'd danced. That was enough. She started back toward the cottage, picking her way carefully through the overgrown garden. She'd learned the path now, learned where the thorns grew thick, where broken fountain pieces lurked in the grass. She didn't see the man sitting in the second-floor office window, watching her disappear into shadow. She didn't see him pick up his phone and put it down 3 times, warring with himself. She didn't see him finally stand and walk away, leaving her in peace for one more night. She saw only the darkness and the path home to a cottage that wasn't home, but was the closest thing she had. On the 7th night, Sophia asked the question Vincent had been dreading. "Papa, can I meet her?" They were at the window as usual, waiting for 8:47 p.m., waiting for the music to start. "Angel, I don't think—" "Please," Sophia interrupted, and her voice was so full of hope it hurt. "I just want to thank her for dancing. She doesn't even know I'm watching. That seems unfair, like I'm taking something without asking." Vincent looked at his daughter, this child who was worried about fairness to a stranger, who wanted to thank someone who didn't even know she existed. "It might not be safe," he tried. "Papa, she's a dancer, not a bad person. You don't know that." "Yes, I do." Sophia's voice was firm. "Bad people don't dance like that. Bad people don't make beautiful things just because. She's good, Papa. I know she is." Vincent thought about the woman he'd been watching for a week through security cameras he'd secretly had Marcus install in the garden. The woman who ate 1 meal a day, what looked like food from shelters or soup kitchens, carefully rationed. The woman who washed in the cottage's broken sink with water she collected from the garden fountain. The woman who lived in his abandoned cottage and took nothing, damaged nothing, existed like a ghost who just wanted to dance. Sophia was right. This woman wasn't a threat, but she was a complication Vincent didn't know how to handle. "Let me think about it," he said. "You've been thinking about it for a week," Sophia pointed out. "I see you watching her too, Papa. Every night. You sit there and you watch her dance and you don't call security. Why?" Vincent opened his mouth, then closed it. Why? Because Sophia smiled? Because this stranger had done what armies of doctors couldn't? Or because there was something about the way the woman danced, with such private grief, such quiet dignity, that reminded him of something he'd forgotten about the world? "I don't know, Angel," he admitted. "Can I tell you what I think?" "Always." Sophia looked out at the garden. "I think she's lonely, like me. And I think maybe if I met her, we could both be less lonely, together." At 8:47 p.m., the music started. But tonight, something was different. The melody was familiar, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, but the dance itself was different, more emotional, more raw. Vincent watched the woman move through the moonlight, and he saw it in every gesture. Grief. Deep, ancient grief. The kind that lived in your bones. She wasn't just dancing. She was mourning. Sophia pressed both hands against the window glass, tears streaming down her face. "She's so sad," Sophia whispered. "Papa, she's so sad." The dance built to something almost violent, the woman's movements sharp now, angry, fighting against invisible chains. Then it shattered into something softer, more defeated. Then, at the end, it became something else entirely. Peace, acceptance, a kind of quiet resolution. When the music ended, the woman stood in the moonlight for a long moment, head bowed, arms wrapped around herself. Then she looked up, directly at Sophia's window. Vincent's breath caught. Had she known? All this time? Had she known someone was watching? The woman raised one hand, not a wave exactly, more like an acknowledgement, a greeting to someone she couldn't see but knew was there. Sophia gasped. "She sees me! Papa, she knows I'm here!" Vincent moved to close the window. "No!" Sophia grabbed his arm with surprising strength. "No, Papa, please, please don't take this away." In the garden, the woman still stood in the moonlight, her hands still raised, waiting. "Papa," Sophia said, her voice breaking, "please, let me meet her, just once, just to say thank you, please." Vincent looked at his daughter's face, at the desperation there, the need, not for toys or treats or anything material, for connection, for someone who understood what it meant to be trapped. He pulled out his phone and sent a text to Marcus. "Clear schedule tomorrow morning. I'll be in the garden, alone. Make sure everyone knows I am not to be disturbed." Then he looked at Sophia. "Tomorrow," he said. "Tomorrow I'll meet her. And if," he took a breath, "if she's who I think she is, if she's safe, then yes, you can meet her." Sophia threw her arms around him with more energy than she'd shown in months. "Thank you, Papa. Thank you, thank you, thank you." In the garden, the woman lowered her hand and disappeared into shadow. But Vincent could have sworn, just before she vanished, he saw her smile. Vincent waited in the garden at dawn. He'd positioned himself near the cottage, but not too close. He didn't want to frighten her. He wore jeans and a simple shirt, nothing that screamed money or power. He wanted to be just a man, not a mafia boss, not a grieving father, just someone who needed to understand. The cottage door opened at 6:47 a.m. The woman emerged, carrying a plastic water bottle, her hair wrapped in the same faded scarf. She moved toward the fountain, probably to fill the bottle. Then she saw him. She froze. Vincent saw the exact moment she decided to run, her body tensing, her eyes darting toward the broken section of wall she must have used to enter the property. "Wait," he said, keeping his voice calm, non-threatening. "Please. I'm not here to hurt you. I want to talk." "I'll leave," she said quickly. Her voice was softer than he'd expected, cultured despite her circumstances. "I'm sorry. I didn't think anyone would care about this old cottage. I haven't damaged anything. I haven't stolen anything. My daughter watches you dance." The woman stopped mid-sentence. "Every night for the past week," Vincent continued. "She sits at her window and watches you dance. And for the first time in 7 months, she smiles." The woman's expression shifted from fear to confusion. "Your daughter?" "Sophia. She's 9. She's paralyzed from the waist down." Vincent took a careful step closer. "She hasn't smiled in 7 months, hasn't laughed, barely speaks. And then you started dancing in our garden, and suddenly she came back to life." The woman stared at him. I didn't know anyone was watching." "I know, that's what makes it," Vincent struggled for the word, "pure. She dances because she dances, not for attention, not for money, just because." "I didn't mean to." "I'm not asking you to leave," Vincent interrupted. "I'm asking you to stay." Silence. "Who are you?" the woman finally asked. "My name is Vincent. This is my estate, and you've been living in my cottage for a week. Who are you?" The woman hesitated, and Vincent could see the calculation in her eyes. How much truth to tell a stranger? How much to hide? "Naomi," she said finally. "My name is Naomi. Were you a professional dancer, Naomi?" "I was training to be one. Before," she gestured vaguely at herself, at her circumstances, "before you lost everything." Her eyes met his, and he saw it there, the recognition of someone who understood loss. "Yes." Vincent moved to a stone bench near the fountain and sat down, trying to make himself less threatening. After a moment, Naomi moved closer, though she didn't sit. "My wife died 3 years ago," Vincent said. "Cancer, and 7 months ago, a bomb meant for me nearly killed my daughter. She survived, but," he gestured toward the house, "she can't walk. She can't move anything below her waist, and every doctor we've seen says she never will." "I'm sorry," Naomi said softly. "For 7 months, I've had all the money in the world, all the power, all the resources, and none of it could make her smile. Then you started dancing, and suddenly," he looked up at Naomi, Suddenly, she has something to hope for, someone who understands what it means to fight just to feel human. I'm not fighting, Naomi said quietly. I'm just existing. By dancing. By trying to remember who I used to be. She looked away. Before I became invisible. Vincent stood slowly. Naomi, I have a proposition for you. Her body tensed. Nothing like that, he said quickly. I'm not that kind of man, and you're not. This isn't. He took a breath, frustrated with himself. I want to offer you a job. A job? Sophia asked if she could meet you to thank you for dancing, and I thought. Vincent gestured toward the cottage. You're living in a building with no heat, no plumbing, no electricity. You're hungry. I've seen how little you eat. You're hiding. From something or someone. Naomi's jaw tightened, but she didn't deny it. I can help with all of that, Vincent continued. Give you a real place to stay, food, safety. And in return, you dance for Sophia. Just what you've been doing. But maybe closer, where she can really see. Maybe you talk to her sometimes. Maybe you help her remember that there's beauty in the world. Why would you do that for a stranger? Because you're not a stranger, Vincent said. Not to Sophia. You're the person who gave her hope. That's worth more than money to me. Naomi was quiet for a long moment. I can't stay forever, she said finally. I'm not asking forever. I'm asking for now. What if someone comes looking for me? Who? Vincent's voice hardened slightly. Who are you hiding from? Naomi shook her head. It doesn't matter. It does if they might come to my home. If they might threaten my daughter, he won't, Naomi interrupted. He doesn't know I'm here. No one knows I'm here. I've been careful. He? Naomi wrapped her arms around herself. Someone I worked for. Someone who thought he owned me. I ran. He's probably forgotten about me by now. Vincent heard what she wasn't saying. Heard it in the way her voice shook. Heard it in the fear beneath her words. If he comes, Vincent said quietly, he won't find you. You have my word. You don't even know me. I know you dance for a child you've never met. I know you live in an abandoned cottage and take nothing but space. I know you have nothing, but you share the only thing you have. Left? Your art. Vincent met her eyes. That's enough for me to know. Naomi looked toward the house, toward the second-floor window where Sophia's room was. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course. But Naomi? Vincent pulled a card from his pocket, just his first name and a phone number. If you need anything, food, safety, a way out, call me. Even if you decide not to take the job, call me. He set the card on the stone bench and walked away. He was halfway back to the house when he heard her voice. Vincent? He turned. She was holding the card, looking at it like it might be a trap or a miracle. She couldn't quite decide which. Your daughter, Naomi said. What kind of music does she like? Vincent felt something loosen in his chest. I don't know, but I think she'd like whatever you choose. Naomi nodded slowly. Tell her I'll dance tonight, and tell her I'm glad I could make her smile. That night at 8:47 p.m., Naomi danced closer to the house than she ever had before. Close enough that Sophia could see her face in the moonlight. Close enough that when Sophia pressed her hand against the window glass, Naomi saw it and pressed her own hand up, mirror image, separated by glass and circumstance and 100 other things. But for that moment, they were together. A child who couldn't walk, and a woman who couldn't stop dancing, both searching for the same thing, freedom. 3 days later, Naomi moved into the guest cottage, not the abandoned ruin where she'd been living, but a smaller building on the estate that Vincent had renovated years ago as guest housing. It had heat, electricity, running water, and actual walls that didn't leak. It felt like a palace. Naomi stood in the small kitchen, turning the faucet on and off just to watch clean water flow. Hot water, cold water, water she didn't have to carry from a fountain. She wanted to cry. "Miss Hart?" Naomi turned to find Elena, Sophia's nurse, standing in the doorway, holding a basket. "Mr. Moretti asked me to bring you some essentials. Towels, toiletries, some clothes." Elena set the basket down. "He wasn't sure what size, so there's a variety. If nothing fits, just let me know, and I'll get more." "This is..." Naomi looked at the basket. Expensive shampoo, actual toothpaste instead of the donated stuff from shelters, clothes that looked new. "This is too much. Mr. Moretti said you'll be working with Sophia. He wants you comfortable." Elena smiled. "Sophia's been asking about you constantly. When you're coming, what you're like, if you'll teach her about dancing." "I'm not a teacher," Naomi said quickly. "You're someone who made her smile. That's teacher enough." After Elena left, Naomi explored the cottage. A small bedroom with a real bed, a bathroom with a shower, a living area with a couch, and in the corner, a CD player and a selection of music, classical, contemporary, everything a dancer might need. There was a note beside the player, handwritten in what she'd come to recognize as Vincent's precise script. "For when your phone battery runs out." Naomi sat on the couch and cried for the first time in months. Not from sadness, from relief, from feeling, just for a moment, like she might be human again. She met Sophia the next evening. Vincent had invited her to the house, to Sophia's room, for a proper introduction. Naomi was terrified. What if Sophia was disappointed? What if the magic only worked from a distance? What if Naomi said something wrong? But when she entered the room and saw the small girl in the wheelchair by the window, all her fears evaporated. Sophia's face lit up like sunrise. "You're real," Sophia breathed. "I was worried maybe I'd imagined you." "I'm real," Naomi said, moving closer. She knelt beside the wheelchair so she was at Sophia's eye level. "And you're Sophia. Your dad told me about you. He told me about you too. He said you were a dancer, a real one." "I was training to be one," Naomi corrected gently. "You are one," Sophia said with absolute conviction. "I watched you dance. You're the most beautiful dancer I've ever seen." Naomi's throat tightened. "Thank you." They talked for an hour, about dance, about music, about Sophia's favorite ballet, the Nutcracker, about Naomi's training at Juilliard. Vincent sat quietly in the corner, watching, and Naomi could see the wonder on his face. His daughter was talking, laughing, engaging with life, because of her. "Can I ask you something?" Sophia said eventually. "Anything." "Why do you dance? If no one's watching, if there's no stage or audience, why do you still dance?" Naomi thought about how to answer. She could be superficial, safe, but this child deserved truth. "Because dancing is the only time I don't feel lost," Naomi said quietly. "When I'm dancing, I know who I am. I know I matter, even if no one's watching, even if I'm dancing alone in a dark garden." She smiled. "But I wasn't alone, was I? You were watching. Did that make it better or worse?" "Better," Naomi said without hesitation. "So much better, because I was dancing for you. I didn't know it, but I was, and that meant it mattered." Sophia reached out and took Naomi's hand. "Will you teach me to dance, even if I can't use my legs?" Naomi looked at Vincent. He nodded slightly. "Yes," Naomi said. "Yes, I'll teach you." "Really? Really? Dancing isn't just about legs, Sophia. It's about your whole body. Your arms, your hands, your face, your heart. There's so much you can do. So much you can express. Will you show me?" Naomi stood and moved to the center of the room. "What do you want to learn first?" "How to tell a story," Sophia said, With just your hands, the way you do in the garden. Naomi smiled. She began to move, showing Sophia how to express emotions through hand movements: joy, sadness, fear, hope. Sophia watched intently, then tried to copy, her small hands moving through the air. Like this? Sophia asked. Exactly like that, Naomi said. You're a natural. They worked for another hour until Sophia started to tire, but she was still smiling when Vincent carried her to bed. Will you come back tomorrow? Sophia asked Naomi. If you'd like me to. I'd like you to very much. After Sophia fell asleep, Vincent walked Naomi back to the guest cottage. They walked in comfortable silence through the evening air. Thank you, Vincent said finally, for what you're doing for her. I should be thanking you, Naomi replied, for the cottage, the clothes, the job, all of it. You're giving me my daughter back. That's worth everything I own. They reached the cottage. Naomi turned to face him. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything? Why did you really let me stay? Before you knew what I could do for Sophia? That first week, you knew I was in your abandoned cottage. You could have thrown me out. Why didn't you? Vincent was quiet for a moment. Because Sophia smiled, he said finally, and because I know what it's like to have nowhere to go, not physically, but emotionally, to be so lost you're just going through motions. He met her eyes. You look like I felt, and I thought maybe we could help each other find a way back. Naomi nodded slowly. Are you lost, Vincent? Completely, but less so now than I was a week ago. Me too, Naomi said softly. She went inside, and Vincent walked back to the house, where his daughter slept peacefully, dreaming of dancing. For the first time in 7 months, he felt something dangerous. Hope. For 3 weeks, everything was perfect. Naomi came to Sophia's room every afternoon. They worked on movement, on expression, on using dance to tell stories even when your body wouldn't cooperate. Sophia's mood improved daily. She laughed more, talked more, engaged with life more. She even started physical therapy again, not because anyone made her, but because Naomi had mentioned that flexibility and core strength would help her upper body movement. I want to be stronger, Sophia told her physical therapist, so I can dance better. Dr. Chen, witnessing the transformation during a follow-up visit, pulled Vincent aside. Whatever you're doing, don't stop, she said. Her neurological condition hasn't changed, but her will to engage has increased dramatically. And that matters. That matters more than you know. But Vincent knew something Dr. Chen didn't. He knew that nothing perfect lasted forever. The warning came from Marcus on a Tuesday afternoon. Boss, we have a situation. Vincent looked up from his desk. Marcus's expression was grim. What situation? A man's been asking questions. Downtown, about a missing woman. Black, late 20s, dancer. Says she owes him money. Says he's offering a reward for information on her whereabouts. Vincent's blood ran cold. Description? Marcus slid a photo across the desk. A man in his 40s, expensive suit, predatory smile. Name's Derek Morrison. Runs what he calls a talent agency. Runs what everyone else calls a high-end prostitution ring. We've had minimal interaction with him. He operates in spaces we don't usually touch, but he's connected, and he's looking for someone. Has he mentioned Naomi by name? No, just the description, but boss. Marcus hesitated. It matches Miss Hart, and the timeline matches when she showed up here. Vincent stared at the photo. Naomi had said she was running from someone who thought he owned her. Does he know she's here? Not yet, but he's spreading money around. Someone will talk eventually. Someone always talks. Then make sure they don't. Vincent's voice was ice. Shut it down. Whatever it costs. I don't care. No one gives that man information. About anyone. Boss, if he's already asking questions, I said shut it down, Marcus. After Marcus left, Vincent sat alone, staring at Derek Morrison's photograph. A pimp. Trafficker. A man who bought and sold women. A man who thought he owned Naomi. Vincent picked up his phone, then put it down. Naomi deserved to know. But if he told her, she'd run. He'd seen it in her eyes that first morning in the garden, that instinct to flee, to disappear, to protect herself the only way she knew how. If she ran, Sophia would be devastated. If she stayed, she might be in danger. Unless Vincent ended the threat first. He picked up his phone again and called a number he rarely used. It's Moretti. I need information on Derek Morrison. Everything. Who he knows, who he owns, who owns him, and I need it by tomorrow. Then he texted Naomi. Can we talk? After Sophia's session today? When Naomi arrived at his office that evening, Vincent saw the fear flash across her face. Is something wrong? She asked. Is Sophia... Sophia's fine. This is about you. He gestured to a chair. Please, sit. Naomi sat, her body language screaming flight risk. Vincent slid Derek Morrison's photo across the desk. Naomi's face went white. You know him, Vincent said. It wasn't a question. How did you... Her voice shook. How did you get this? He's in the city, asking questions, offering rewards, looking for a woman matching your description. Naomi stood abruptly. I have to go. I have to leave right now. If he finds me... Naomi, sit down. You don't understand what he's capable of. Sit down. Vincent's voice was steel. Naomi sat, shaking. Tell me, Vincent said quietly. Tell me everything, and then we'll figure out how to handle it. There's nothing to figure out. I run. That's what I always do. Running hasn't worked. He's still looking for you. Then I run farther. Or, Vincent leaned forward, you let someone help you. You can't help with this. You don't know what I'm capable of, Naomi. Something in his tone made her look up, really look at him. Who are you? She asked. Really? Vincent considered how much truth to tell her. How much truth she could handle. My name is Vincent Moretti, he said carefully. My family has influence in this city. The kind of influence that can make problems disappear. Understanding dawned slowly on Naomi's face. I'm someone who can protect you, if you let me. You're talking about killing him. I'm talking about ending the threat. However, that needs to happen. Naomi stood again, pacing. You don't understand. Derek has connections. Other women who work for him. Friends in the police department. Lawyers. He's protected. He's not protected from me. If something happens to him, people will look for him. They'll ask questions. Let them ask. Vincent, I can't let you... You're not letting me do anything, Vincent interrupted. I'm making a choice. Derek Morrison is threatening someone under my protection. That's unacceptable, so I'm going to handle it. By killing him? By doing whatever needs to be done to ensure you're safe, to ensure Sophia's safe, to ensure that man never touches anyone again. Naomi stared at him. This is who you are. This is what you do. Yes. And Sophia, does she know? Sophia knows I protect the people I care about. By hurting other people? Vincent stood and moved around the desk until he was standing close to her. Naomi, in my world, there are wolves, and there are sheep. I'm a wolf. I've always been a wolf, and I've done terrible things to protect my family, my territory, my people. I won't apologize for that, but I also won't let another wolf devour someone I've promised to protect. I didn't ask for your protection. You didn't have to. The moment you danced for my daughter, the moment you gave her hope, you became mine to protect, whether you wanted or not. Naomi's eyes filled with tears. I don't want more blood on my hands. I don't want to be the reason someone dies. You're not the reason. He is. He made the choice when he enslaved women, when he hurt you, when he refused to let you go. Vincent's voice softened. You don't have to carry his sins, Naomi. You just have to let me handle them. What if handling them changes who you are? What if Sophia finds out what you did and it destroys what you've built with her? Sophia is paralyzed because of my world, Vincent said quietly. Because of who I am, what I do. That car bomb was meant for me. She's already paid the price for my sins. Now I'm going to make sure you don't pay for someone else's. Naomi sank back into the chair, exhausted. What do you need from me? She asked finally. Everything you know about Derek Morrison, where he operates, who he works with, who might protect him. Then you keep dancing for Sophia. You keep being safe. You let me handle the rest. And if something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. You can't promise that. Yes, Vincent said, meeting her eyes. I can. That night, after Naomi had returned to her cottage and Sophia was asleep, Vincent made 3 phone calls. The first was to Marco, his underboss. Derek Morrison, talent agent, pimp. Find him. I want to know everywhere he goes, everyone he talks to, and I want it yesterday. The second was to a lawyer he kept on retainer for situations like this. I need dirt on Derek Morrison, anything that could be used to prosecute him, discredit him, or force him to disappear. And I need it clean. Nothing that traces back to me. The third call was to someone he hadn't spoken to in years, a federal agent who owed him favors Vincent had never called in. Remember that thing in 2019? Consider us even if you help me now. By morning, Vincent had a complete picture of Derek Morrison's operation. It was worse than he'd thought. Morrison wasn't just a pimp. He was a trafficker. He recruited vulnerable women, homeless, addicted, desperate, and turned them into commodities. And when they tried to leave, he made examples of them. The file Marcus compiled, included 3 missing persons reports, 3 women who'd worked for Morrison and then disappeared. Naomi had been lucky to escape, but her luck was running out. Morrison was getting closer. He'd been to 3 homeless shelters where Naomi had stayed, 2 soup kitchens where she'd eaten. He was following her trail backwards, and eventually he'd reach the present. Eventually he'd find this estate. Vincent looked at the evidence spread across his desk. He could have Morrison arrested, could turn all of this over to the police, could let the legal system handle it. But the legal system had failed those 3 missing women. The legal system couldn't protect Naomi if Morrison made bail, couldn't protect Sophia if Morrison decided to use her as leverage. The legal system was sheep. Vincent was a wolf, and it was time to remind everyone why wolves ran this city. Vincent didn't tell Naomi what he planned to do. He simply invited Derek Morrison to a meeting. A business proposition, the message said. Sent through intermediaries, worded carefully, an unnamed client interested in Morrison's services. Morrison took the bait. The meeting was set for a warehouse on the docks, neutral territory, or so Morrison thought. He arrived with 2 bodyguards, which was smart, but not smart enough. Marco and Vincent's team had been in the warehouse for hours. Exits secured, escape routes blocked, every advantage mapped and claimed. When Morrison walked in, he was already caught. Mr. Morrison, Vincent said from his position in shadow, thank you for coming. Morrison squinted into the darkness. Who are you? Where's the client? I'm the client. Vincent stepped into the light. He saw the moment Morrison recognized the name, the family, the danger. Moretti. Morrison's voice was careful now. I don't usually do business with your organization. That's wise. We don't usually do business with human traffickers. Morrison's bodyguards tensed. Marco, and 3 other men stepped from the shadows, armed and ready. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Morrison said smoothly. "I run a talent agency. Entertainment services, all legal, all consenting. Naomi Hart." Morrison's mask slipped for just a second. "Who?" "The woman you've been looking for. The woman you enslaved for 18 months. The woman who ran from you and who you won't stop hunting." "I don't know anyone by that name." "Then why have you been asking about a black female dancer? Why have you been offering rewards for information? Why have you been checking homeless shelters?" Morrison smiled, showing teeth. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Let me be clearer." Vincent moved closer. "Naomi Hart is under my protection now, which means you stop looking for her. You stop asking questions. You forget she exists. And if I don't, then you join the other 3 women you disappeared in the Hudson River." Morrison's face went pale. "I don't know. Tanya Williams, Jessica Rodriguez, Keisha Jones." Vincent recited the names like a prayer. 3 women who worked for you. 3 women who tried to leave. 3 women who vanished without a trace. "You can't prove—" "I don't need to prove anything, Morrison. I'm not the police. I'm not bound by evidence or law. I'm just a man who's making you a very simple offer. Walk away from Naomi Hart or disappear." Morrison laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think you scare me? I have connections. Lawyers, cops on my payroll. You touch me and what?" Vincent's voice was ice. "They'll investigate. They'll ask questions. They'll find evidence." He gestured around the warehouse. "Do you see any evidence here, Morrison? Do you see anything that connects me to whatever happens next?" Morrison looked at Marco, at the other men, at the exits all blocked. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "I want you gone. Out of the city. Out of the business. Out of my sight. I have operations here, investments. I can't just—" "You have 24 hours," Vincent interrupted. "Tomorrow night, you're either on a plane somewhere far away or you're at the bottom of the river. Your choice. And my business? My women? Your women aren't yours. They never were. As of tonight, they're free. I've already contacted most of them, offered them real help, real housing, real protection. The ones who want to stay in the industry can work independently. The ones who want out get whatever support they need to rebuild." Morrison's face twisted with rage. "You can't." "I already have." Vincent pulled out his phone and showed Morrison a document, legal, notarized, transferring ownership of Morrison's properties to a shell corporation Vincent controlled. "Your assets now belong to me. Your apartment, mine. Your business locations, mine. Your bank accounts." He smiled. "Frozen, pending investigation into trafficking and racketeering. You leave with nothing, Morrison. But you do leave with your life. That's more than you deserve. This is illegal. Call the police. I'll wait." Morrison stared at him, understanding finally settling in. He had no moves left, no leverage, no escape except the one being offered. "I'll remember this," Morrison hissed. "I hope you do. I hope you remember every day for the rest of your life that you lost to someone protecting a woman you tried to destroy. Maybe it'll teach you something." Morrison and his bodyguards were escorted out. Vincent watched them leave, then pulled out his phone. "Track them," he told Marco. "Make sure he actually gets on a plane. If he's still in the city tomorrow, handle it. Boss, do you want him—" "No. I want him alive and gone. Dead makes him a martyr to the other traffickers. But alive and humiliated, stripped of everything, that sends a better message." After everyone left, Vincent stood alone in the empty warehouse, looking at his hands. They were clean. No blood. No violence. Just words and power and the threat of what he could do. Was this better than killing Morrison Was this worse? He didn't know, but Sophia would never have to know about any of it, and Naomi was safe. That was all that mattered. When Vincent returned to the estate, Naomi was waiting in his office. Is he dead? She asked without preamble. No. Then what? He's gone, leaving the city. He won't come back. How can you be sure? Because I made it very clear what happens if he does. Naomi studied his face. You scared him. Yes, but you didn't hurt him. Not physically, but I hurt him where it mattered. His pride, his power, his possessions. He leaves with nothing, Naomi. That's worse than death for men like him. Naomi sat down slowly. Why didn't you just kill him? That's what you do, isn't it? Sometimes, when it's necessary. But sometimes there are better ways, ways that don't create more violence, ways that don't require Sophia to one day learn her father's a murderer. She already knows what you are. She knows I'm complicated. She knows I'm not perfect, but she doesn't need to know I'm a monster. You're not a monster, Naomi said softly. Monsters don't protect people. Monsters don't give homeless dancers a home and a purpose. I'm a monster who sometimes does good things. That doesn't make me good. Naomi stood and moved closer to him. Vincent, what you did tonight, protecting me, freeing those other women, giving Morrison a chance to leave instead of killing him. That wasn't monster behavior. That was human. Don't make me into a hero, Naomi. I'm not one. I'm not making you into anything. I'm just seeing you. They stood in silence for a moment. He's really gone? Naomi asked. He's really gone? And the other women? Being helped. I have people setting up housing, therapy, job training, whatever they need. That must cost. I have money I'll never spend. Might as well use it for something worthwhile. Naomi's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing all this? Because you matter. Because those women matter. Because I'm tired of being the person who only takes. Maybe it's time to be the person who gives. Naomi reached out and took his hand. Thank you for all of it, for seeing me, for protecting me, for being more than what you think you are. Vincent squeezed her hand gently, then let go. Go get some rest. Sophia will want to see you tomorrow, and she's been working on a new routine she wants to show you. Naomi smiled. She told me. It's based on the Firebird. She's very excited. Then I better make sure nothing ruins her excitement. After Naomi left, Vincent stood at the window, looking out over his estate. Somewhere in the guest cottage, Naomi was safe. Somewhere upstairs, Sophia was sleeping peacefully. Two people who, 3 weeks ago, he hadn't known existed. Two people who were now the most important things in his world. He thought about Morrison, about the choice he'd made not to kill him, about whether mercy was weakness or growth. He didn't have an answer, but for the first time in years, he felt like maybe he was becoming someone worth knowing, someone who didn't just destroy, someone who could actually build something good. 3 months after Naomi arrived, Dr. Chen noticed something impossible. Vincent, I need you to come to Sophia's room, right now. Vincent dropped everything and ran. When he burst into the room, expecting crisis, he found Dr. Chen kneeling beside Sophia's wheelchair, tears streaming down her face. What's wrong? Her toes moved. Time stopped. What? Watch. Dr. Chen touched Sophia's right foot gently. Sophia, can you try again, like you showed me? Sophia, looking terrified and hopeful, closed her eyes in concentration, and her right big toe flickered, just the tiniest movement. Again, Dr. Chen breathed. The toe moved again. Vincent couldn't breathe. How is this possible? He managed. I don't know. Neurologically, this shouldn't be happening. The damage to her spine was complete. There should be no pathway for movement, but Dr. Chen looked at Sophia with wonder. Bodies are capable of things we don't understand, especially when they have reasons to heal. Naomi, Sophia said quietly. It's because of Naomi. Sweetheart, that's not. It is, Sophia insisted. Ever since Naomi started teaching me to dance, teaching me to use my whole body, teaching me to feel the music, I've been feeling things, tingles, pins and needles. And yesterday, when we were dancing to the Firebird, I felt my toe move. Just a little. So I tried again, and it moved more. Vincent sank into a chair, overwhelmed. We need to do more testing, Dr. Chen said. MRIs, nerve conduction studies, everything. This could be a fluke, or it could be the beginning of recovery. We won't know until— No tests, Sophia interrupted. Both adults looked at her. No tests, she repeated firmly. I don't want doctors and hospitals and tests. I want to keep dancing with Naomi. I want to keep working. I want to keep feeling. Sophia, we need to understand what's happening. I know what's happening, Sophia said. I'm getting better because I'm happy, because I have hope, because Naomi showed me that even broken things can be beautiful. Vincent looked at Dr. Chen, who shrugged helplessly. If we wait, Dr. Chen said carefully, and this is genuine recovery, early intervention with physical therapy could make a huge difference. But if the child is refusing— I'm not refusing to get better, Sophia said. I'm refusing to let doctors take over my getting better. This is mine, and Naomi's, and I want to do it our way. Vincent moved to his daughter's side. Angel, if there's a chance this is real, if there's a chance you could walk again, then it happens because of dancing and happiness and love, Sophia interrupted. Not because of hospitals and pain and being poked and prodded. Please, Papa, trust me. How could he say no to that? One condition, Vincent said. We do gentle, non-invasive monitoring. Dr. Chen checks you weekly. We track progress. And if at any point it seems like medical intervention would help, we discuss it. Deal? Sophia considered. Deal. But only if Naomi is part of every decision. Agreed. After Dr. Chen left with promises to return next week, Vincent sat with Sophia. Are you scared? He asked. A little, she admitted. What if I try really hard and nothing more happens? What if my toe moves but my legs never do? Then you have a toe that moves and legs that don't, and you're still perfect. But what if I could walk again, Papa? What if this is real? Then we take it one day at a time, one toe wiggle at a time, one miracle at a time. Sophia smiled. Naomi says miracles are just hope that refuses to give up. Naomi sounds pretty smart. She is. And Papa? Sophia looked at him seriously. I think she needs a miracle too. What do you mean? She's still sad. I can see it when she thinks I'm not looking. She smiles and teaches me and acts like everything is fine, but— Sophia shook her head. But she's still broken inside, like I was, before she started dancing. What do you think would help her? I think she needs someone to dance for her, the way she dances for me. Someone who sees her and makes her feel like she matters. Vincent thought about Naomi, about the way she still moved carefully through the world, like she expected it to hurt her, about the way she flinched when car doors slammed, about the way she never, ever asked for anything. You might be right, Angel. Will you help her, Papa, the way she helped me? I'll try. That's all miracles need, Sophia said wisely. Someone willing to try. Vincent invited Naomi to dinner, not in Sophia's room, not in his office, in the formal dining room with candles and real food and nothing to do with therapy or dancing or his daughter. Naomi was suspicious. What's this about? She asked when she arrived, dressed in one of the simple dresses Elena had bought her months ago. It's about having dinner with someone I'd like to know better, Vincent said. Why? Because Sophia's right. You helped us. Now it's time someone helped you. I don't need help. Everyone needs help, Naomi. Sit, please. The meal was simple: pasta, salad, wine. Nothing pretentious. They ate in surprisingly comfortable silence for a while. How's your battery doing? Vincent asked finally. Naomi blinked. My battery? Your phone. You mentioned it was dying when we first met. Did you find a place to charge it? A smile tugged at her lips. I have electricity now, thanks to you. So you can listen to all the music you want. I can, though I still use the CD player you got me. The music selection is perfect. Elena helped. She asked Sophia what you might like. It was thoughtful. Naomi set down her fork. Vincent, you didn't invite me to dinner to talk about phone batteries. No. I invited you to dinner because in 3 months, I've learned everything about what you do for Sophia, but almost nothing about you. And I'd like to change that. Why? Because you matter, not just as Sophia's teacher, as a person. Naomi looked uncomfortable. There's not much to know. I don't believe that. She sighed. What do you want to know? Everything. Your childhood, your dreams, what made you want to dance, what you want for your future. That's a lot. We have time. So Naomi talked, hesitantly at first, then more openly, about growing up in Harlem with a single mother who worked 3 jobs, about seeing a ballet at age 6 and knowing that's what she wanted to be, about her mother scraping together money for lessons, about Juilliard, the company, the almost future that had slipped away. Vincent listened, really listened, and understood something he hadn't before. Naomi's story wasn't that different from his own. Both of them had climbed from nothing. Both had fought for what they had. Both had lost the most important people in their lives too soon. The difference was the path they'd chosen afterward. What happened after your mother died? Vincent asked gently. Naomi's face clouded. I fell apart, missed too many rehearsals, lost my spot, lost my apartment. Derek found me when I was dancing in subway stations for change. He seemed like salvation. She laughed bitterly. I was so stupid. You were grieving and vulnerable. That's not stupidity. I should have known better. Naomi, predators like Derek Morrison are good at finding people at their weakest and making them believe they deserve the abuse. That's not your fault. I stayed for 18 months. And then you found the strength to leave. That's not weakness. That's survival. Naomi looked at him with wet eyes. Why are you being so kind to me? Because you deserve kindness. You don't know that. I do know that. I've watched you for 3 months. I've seen how you treat Sophia, how you work, how you exist in the world. You're good, Naomi. You're genuinely good. And good people deserve good things. What about you? Naomi asked. Do you deserve good things? Vincent smiled sadly. I'm working on it. Sophia says you're a good father. Sophia only knows half of what I've done. Maybe the half she knows is the real you, and the other half is just armor, protection, the mask you wear to survive your world. That's generous. It's observation. Naomi leaned forward. I see you with Sophia. I see how gentle you are, how patient. I see how you look at her like she's your whole world. That's not a mask, Vincent. That's real. And the rest, the violence, the power, maybe that's real too. Maybe you're both things, gentle and dangerous, loving and ruthless. She smiled slightly. Maybe you're just human. Vincent laughed, genuinely laughed for the first time in months. Human. I like that better than monster. You're not a monster. You keep saying that. One day I might believe you. They talked for hours, about art, about Sophia, about the strange path that had brought them both to this moment. As the candles burned low, Vincent realized something startling. He was happy, not just content, not just less miserable, actually happy. When had that last happened? "Naomi," he said as the evening wound down, "what do you want? For yourself? For your future?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I want to dance again," she said finally. "Really dance. On a stage. For people. Not just in gardens or Sophia's room. I want to matter to more than just two people." "You could. I could help. Introductions, funding, whatever you need. I can't take more from you, Vincent. You've already given me too much." "What if it's not giving? What if it's investing? In someone I believe in? You don't know if I'm good enough." "Sophia says you're the best dancer she's ever seen, and Sophia doesn't lie." Naomi smiled through tears. "She's 9. She hasn't seen many dancers." "Then let the world see you. Let them decide." "I'm scared." "Of course you are. But you're braver than you think, Naomi. You survived Derek Morrison. You lived on the streets. You danced when you had nothing. That's not fear. That's courage. What if I fail? Then you fail. And you try again. That's all any of us can do." Naomi wiped her eyes. "Why do you care so much?" "Because," Vincent said honestly, "you gave me back my daughter. Because you showed me that violence isn't the only form of power. Because you're proof that broken things can heal." He paused. "And because somewhere along the way, you became important to me. Not just as Sophia's teacher, as you." Naomi stared at him. The air between them shifted, became charged with something neither was quite ready to name. "Vincent, I'm not asking for anything," he said quickly. "I just wanted you to know that you matter. To me, to Sophia, to this family we're somehow building." "Family," Naomi repeated softly. "If you'll have us." She reached across the table and took his hand. "I'll have you," she whispered. And in that moment, Vincent understood. Sophia wasn't the only one healing. He was too. 2 weeks later, Sophia's toes moved again. Then her ankle flexed. Then, impossibly, sensation returned to her right knee. Dr. Chen was baffled. "This shouldn't be possible. The MRI still shows significant spinal damage, but the nerves are regenerating somehow. It's like..." She shook her head. "It's like her body is rewriting the rules." "It's the dancing," Sophia insisted. "It's making me remember how to feel." Whether it was medical miracle, psychosomatic phenomenon, or something else entirely, no one could say. But the progress was undeniable. And with progress came hope. And with hope came fear. Naomi felt it most acutely. She was terrified that if Sophia recovered, really recovered, she'd no longer be needed, that Vincent would thank her politely and send her on her way, that she'd return to invisibility. Vincent saw the fear. "Come with me," he said one evening after Sophia was asleep. He led Naomi to a part of the estate she'd never seen, a ballroom, gorgeous and huge, with wall-to-wall mirrors and a hardwood floor. "I had it built for my wife," Vincent said quietly. "She loved to dance, not professionally, just for joy. We used to dance here in the evenings." He looked around the space. "After she died, I couldn't come in here. I locked it, forgot about it." "Why are you showing me now?" "Because I want you to use it. Teach Sophia here when she's ready. Practice here. Dance here. Bring life back to this space." "Vincent, I can't, and I want you to perform." Naomi froze. "What?" "A performance. Here, in the ballroom. For Sophia's 10th birthday. Just family and close. Friends. Nothing public. Nothing scary. Just a chance for you to dance the way you were meant to. On a real stage, for people who matter." "I haven't performed in years. I'm not ready." "You are ready. more than ready. And Sophia deserves to see you dance like you once danced. Really dance. Not just teaching, but performing. What if I'm terrible? You won't be. What if I freeze? What if I fall? Then you freeze and you fall and we help you back up. That's what families do. Families. The word made Naomi's chest ache. You really think I could do this? I know you could. The question is, do you want to? Did she? The old Naomi, the one who danced at Juilliard, who dreamed of stages and audiences, would have screamed yes. But the new Naomi, the one who'd survived Morrison, who'd lived on streets, who'd learned to be small and invisible, was terrified. I want to, she whispered. I'm just so scared. Vincent moved closer. Scared of failing? Or scared of succeeding? Both. If I fail, I prove Morrison was right, that I'm nothing, that I was never good enough. She took a shaky breath. But if I succeed, then I have something to lose again, and I don't know if I can survive losing again. You won't lose this time. You can't promise that. No, Vincent agreed. But I can promise I'll be here, whatever happens. Success, failure, anything in between. You won't face it alone. Naomi looked around the ballroom, at the mirrors reflecting infinite possibilities, at the floor that had once held joy, at the windows letting in moonlight. Okay, she said, I'll do it. For Sophia, for her birthday. Not just for Sophia, Vincent said. For you too. Sophia's 10th birthday was on a Saturday in April. They spent the day quietly, cake, presents, Sophia's favorite movies. But she knew something special was planned for the evening. Is Naomi really going to dance for me? She kept asking. Really dance? On a real stage? The whole thing? What piece is she doing? It's a surprise. At 7 p.m., Vincent wheeled Sophia into the ballroom. She gasped. The space had been transformed. Lights hung from the ceiling, creating pools of warmth and shadow. Chairs were arranged in a small semicircle. Just Vincent, Elena, Dr. Chen, and Marcus, who'd become increasingly protective of both Sophia and Naomi, and at the far end, a small stage with a single spotlight. This is beautiful, Sophia breathed. Wait until you see her dance. The lights dimmed. Music began, not recorded, but live. Vincent had hired a pianist who played from the shadows, and then Naomi appeared. She wore a simple dress, nothing elaborate, nothing costumey, just a flowing dress that moved with her body. Her hair was free, framing her face. Her feet were bare. She looked like herself. Finally, completely herself. The piece she'd chosen was The Swan, the same piece she'd danced that third night in the garden when Sophia had first heard the music through the open window. But this was different. This wasn't just movement. This was storytelling. Naomi danced the story of a swan who had forgotten how to fly, who had been caged, broken, taught to believe she was nothing. The movements were anguished, trapped, desperate. Sophia watched, riveted. Then the music shifted, softened, and the swan remembered. Slowly, tentatively, her wings began to move again. Her body remembered what it had been created to do. She wasn't fixed. She was still broken in places. But broken didn't mean dead. Broken didn't mean hopeless. Broken just meant she'd survived something hard. And now she was dancing despite it. Because of it. The dance built to a crescendo. The swan taking flight not because she'd healed, but because she'd learned that even broken wings can sometimes still fly. When the music ended, Naomi stood in the spotlight, breathing hard, tears streaming down her face. The small audience erupted in applause, but Sophia just stared, her own face wet with tears. That was about you, she whispered. Wasn't it? Naomi walked to Sophia's wheelchair and knelt beside her. It was about both of us, she said. About being broken, about learning to move anyway, about finding people who see you and make you believe you can fly again. Sophia threw her arms around Naomi. You're not broken. You're beautiful. So are you, sweet girl. So are you. Vincent watched them hold each other, these two people who'd saved each other's lives without meaning to. And he understood something fundamental. This was the miracle. Not Sophia's toes moving, not medical recovery, not any one thing, but this. Two broken people finding each other, helping each other remember how to hope. Family wasn't blood. Family was choosing to dance together even when the world said you couldn't. 6 months after Naomi's performance, Sophia took her first step. Just one step, supported by parallel bars, shaking, crying, exhausted, but one step. The physical therapy team Vincent had carefully assembled, only the best, only the most compassionate, only those who treated Sophia with dignity, celebrated like she'd run a marathon. Naomi wasn't there when it happened. She'd gone into the city for the afternoon, something she'd been doing more frequently as her confidence grew. When she returned and Sophia wheeled herself, she insisted on independence even as she regained mobility. To greet her, Sophia was bursting. I walked! Naomi, I walked! Naomi dropped to her knees. You what? One step. On the parallel bars. Dr. Chen said at this rate I might... Sophia's voice caught. I might walk without support within a year, maybe less. They cried together, right there in the entrance hall, while Vincent watched from the stairs, his own eyes wet. That night, after Sophia was asleep, drunk on victory and dreams, Vincent found Naomi in the ballroom. She was dancing, not performing, just moving, processing, celebrating in the only way she knew how. She did it, Naomi said when she noticed him. She actually did it. You did it, Vincent corrected. You gave her hope. You gave her a reason to want to move. You showed her that broken doesn't mean finished. We all did it. You, me, her doctors, Sophia herself, Naomi. Vincent moved closer. Take the credit. You deserve it. She stopped dancing, facing him in the moonlight streaming through the windows. Vincent, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you months ago. His expression grew cautious. What is it? The first night I danced in your garden. It wasn't random. She took a breath. I saw Sophia at the window, just for a second. I saw this little girl in a wheelchair, and she looked so sad, so trapped. And I thought maybe if I danced, if I gave her something beautiful to look at, maybe it would help. Just for a minute. You knew she was watching? That first night, yes. I saw her, and then I saw her again the next night, and the next, and I kept dancing because... She wrapped her arms around herself. Because seeing her smile at the window was the first time in 2 years I felt like I mattered, like I had purpose beyond just surviving. Vincent absorbed this. So you weren't just dancing for yourself. I was, but I was also dancing for her, for this child I didn't know, who I wanted to help the only way I could. Naomi's voice shook. Does that change things? Does it make me a liar? No. Vincent moved even closer, until he was standing right in front of her. It makes you the most selfless person I've ever met. You had nothing. You were hiding, scared, desperate, and you used the only thing you had, your art, to try to help a stranger. I didn't want you to think I'd manipulated you, or used Sophia. You saved her, Naomi. Whether you dance knowingly or unknowingly doesn't change that. Naomi looked up at him, and Vincent realized how close they were, standing, how the air between them had become charged again. There's something else, Naomi whispered. What? I'm falling for you. The words rushed out. I tried not to. You're my employer, Sophia's father. You've given me everything, and I know it's inappropriate and probably wrong, but I can't help it. Every time you look at Sophia with such love, every time you help one of Morrison's other girls, every time you choose kindness over power, I fall a little more and Vincent kissed her, soft, gentle, like she was made of something precious. When he pulled back, Naomi was staring at him in shock. I'm falling for you too, he said quietly. Have been for months. Every time you dance, every time you make Sophia laugh, every time you choose to stay even when I know you're scared, every time you show me what real strength looks like. Vincent, I'm nobody. I have nothing. I'm just, you're everything, he interrupted. Your kindness and courage and grace. You're everything I'm not but want to be. He cupped her face gently. You're the person who made me believe I could be more than violence and power, that I could build instead of destroy. I didn't do that. You did that yourself. I did it because you showed me it was possible. They kissed again, deeper this time, months of tension and fear and hope pouring into the connection. When they finally broke apart, Naomi was crying. What if this is a mistake? She whispered. Then we make it together. What if I'm not good enough for you, for Sophia, for this life? You're already good enough, more than good enough. The question is, are we good enough for you? Naomi laughed through her tears. You're ridiculous. Is that a yes? I don't know what the question is. Vincent took both her hands. The question is, will you stay? Not as Sophia's teacher, not as someone I'm helping, but as us, as whatever this is, as family. Vincent, I'm not asking for marriage or promises or anything you're not ready for. I'm just asking you to stay, to let this be real, to let yourself be loved. Naomi looked at him, this complicated, dangerous, gentle man who'd saved her life without knowing it, this man who'd protected her, believed in her, seen her when the rest of the world looked away. Okay, she breathed. Okay, I'll stay. They held each other in the ballroom, moonlight painting them in silver, while upstairs a little girl who'd taken her first step dreamed of dancing. 1 year after Naomi moved into the estate, Sophia walked across her bedroom without support. 11 steps. Everyone cried. Dr. Chen called it the most remarkable recovery she'd ever witnessed. The medical journals wanted to study Sophia, to understand how nerve regeneration had occurred in a case previously deemed hopeless. Sophia refused. It was the dancing, she said simply, and love, and hope. That's all anyone needs to know. 2 months later, Naomi performed, again, this time at a small contemporary dance theater downtown. Vincent had quietly funded the production. Sophia sat in the front row in a regular chair. She only used the wheelchair now for very long distances or when tired. The performance was stunning. Critics called Naomi a revelation. Dance companies called offering positions. But Naomi had other plans. She opened a dance therapy program for survivors. Women escaping abuse, trafficking, violence. Women like she'd been. Women like the 3 Morrison had killed, and the dozen more he'd destroyed. The program was free, fully funded, and housed in a converted warehouse on the estate grounds. Dance saved me, Naomi explained at the opening ceremony. I want to share that salvation with others who need it. Vincent stood in the back, watching her speak with confidence and grace, watching her move through a crowd like she owned every space she inhabited. This was the woman he'd fallen in love with, not the terrified dancer he'd found in his garden, but the person she'd always been underneath, the person who just needed safety and support to emerge. Papa, she's amazing, Sophia whispered beside him. She could walk now, though it still tired her quickly, but she insisted on standing for important moments. She is, Vincent agreed. Are you going to marry her? Vincent looked down at his daughter. Is that what you want? It's what I want, if it's what you both want. Do you want it? Did he? He thought about coming home to Naomi every night, about dancing with her in the ballroom, about building a life that wasn't based on violence and power, but on creation and love. Yes, he said. I want it. Then ask her, Papa, before someone else does. Vincent laughed. Who else is going to ask her? Have you seen the way that modern dance choreographer looks at her? Or the program director? Or... Okay, I get it. So ask her. Tonight. Tonight? Why wait? Mama used to say that life is too short to postpone happiness. Vincent pulled Sophia close. Your mama was a smart woman. She was, and she'd really like Naomi. You think so? I know so. They both believed in dancing through the hard stuff. They both believed broken could be beautiful. Sophia looked up at him. And they both believed you were worth loving, even when you didn't believe it yourself. Vincent's eyes stung. How did you get so wise? I had good teachers. You, Naomi, Mama, before. She squeezed his hand. So ask her. Make our family official. That night, Vincent took Naomi to the ballroom. She laughed when she saw it lit with hundreds of candles. What's all this? I needed the right setting. For what? Vincent pulled a small box from his pocket. Naomi's breath caught. A year ago, Vincent said, you were living in my abandoned cottage, dancing in my overgrown garden, hiding from the world, and I was a man who'd forgotten how to be anything but powerful and angry and lost. Vincent, then you danced for my daughter, and somehow, in the process of saving her, you saved me too. You showed me what real strength looks like, what real grace is, what it means to build instead of destroy. He opened the box. The ring inside was simple, elegant, but not ostentatious. A single diamond that caught the candlelight. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring this out. I know you have your program and your own future, and I would never ask you to give any of that up. But, he dropped to one knee. But I also know that I love you. Completely. Impossibly. In ways I didn't think I was capable of anymore. Naomi was crying now, hand over her mouth. Naomi Hart, will you marry me? Will you be Sophia's mother? She wants that, by the way. She's upstairs, probably listening at the door. They both heard Sophia's giggle from the hallway. Will you be my wife? Will you let me spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you? You're already worthy, Naomi whispered. Is that a yes? Yes, God, yes, of course yes. He slid the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that tasted like tears and joy, and futures neither of them had dared imagine. Sophia erupted from her hiding spot and threw herself at both of them, nearly knocking them over. I knew it! I knew you'd say yes! Elena owes me $10! You bet on this? Vincent asked. Obviously. This is the best day ever. Well, second best. First best was when I walked, but this is a close second. They laughed and cried and held each other, this strange, beautiful family built from broken pieces. 6 months later, on a warm autumn evening, Vincent Moretti and Naomi Hart were married in the ballroom. It was small, just family and close friends. Sophia was the flower girl, walking the entire aisle by herself, with her father stationed every few feet just in case, but she didn't falter. Naomi wore a simple white dress that let her move freely, because after the ceremony, after the vows and the rings and the promises, there would be dancing. So much dancing. The first dance was Vincent and Naomi, swaying to Etta James, holding each other like they were the only two people in the world. The second dance was Naomi and Sophia, dancing to the Firebird, Sophia's favorite. Sophia's movements were still careful, still limited, but she was dancing, actually dancing. Thank you, Sophia whispered as they moved together. For what, sweet girl? For teaching me to fly again. You taught yourself. I just played the music. Thank you for that, too, for seeing me when I was invisible. You were never invisible to me. The third dance was Vincent and Sophia, father and daughter, both crying happy tears as he spun her slowly around the ballroom. I'm proud of you, Angel. So proud. I'm proud of you too, Papa. You found someone who makes you smile. You're building instead of breaking. You're being who you were always meant to be. Who's that? Good. Just good. Not perfect. Not without complications. But trying. That's all anyone can ask. I learned that from you. No, Papa. You learned it from Naomi. I just reminded you it was possible. The party went late into the night. Sophia eventually fell asleep on a couch, exhausted but happy, her legs tucked up underneath her, something she couldn't have done a year ago. Naomi and Vincent danced for hours, sometimes with others, mostly with each other. When everyone else had left or drifted off to sleep, they stood together in the moonlight streaming through the ballroom windows. What are you thinking? Naomi asked. That a year and a half ago, I was the most powerful man in this city and the most miserable. And now I don't know, different. Better? I hope so. Naomi leaned her head on his shoulder. We're all better. Sophia's walking. I'm performing again. You're learning to be gentle. Is that enough? To make up for everything I've done? It's a start, and starts are all we get. The rest is just showing up every day and choosing to be a little better than yesterday. They swayed together, no music playing, just the sound of their breathing and their hearts. Naomi? Thank you for dancing in my garden. She smiled against his chest. Thank you for not throwing me out. Thank you for saving my daughter. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for teaching me that power isn't everything. Thank you for teaching me that broken can heal. Thank you for staying. Thank you for asking me to. They could have gone on like that all night, trading gratitudes, but eventually they just held each other in silence. In the ballroom where joy had once lived, and grief had taken over, and now joy had returned. In the house where a mafia boss learned to be a father, a husband, a man. In the garden where a homeless woman had danced for a paralyzed child. In the space between who they'd been and who they were becoming. The past wasn't erased. Vincent was still complicated, still capable of darkness when protecting his family. Naomi still flinched at loud noises, still woke from nightmares about Morrison finding her. But they were healing. One dance at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time. And upstairs, Sophia slept peacefully, dreaming of a future where she would dance on stages, where she would use movement to heal others the way Naomi had healed her. Dreaming of a world where broken things became beautiful, where paralyzed girls learned to walk, where homeless women became wives, where monsters became men, where gardens grew wild and lovely, where music played in the dark, and where, if you listened very carefully, you could hear the sound of hope refusing to give up.